What's the dog doing?
Walls.
You say the word balls because I said don't swear.
Yeah.
For that, you've got to do the intro this time.
Hello. This is Chris, and I'm not Chris. And this is our Doctor Who video. And we've just watched season 13.
You looked at me then, is that the right number?
Am I right?
Is that the right number? That is the right number. This is season 13 of BBC TV's Doctor Who.
Dr. Whame.
Way, I'm Doctor Who!
I'm in your bed, love.
I'm in your bed, love!
Oh, we said no gibberish and we started off gibberish. Oh my god.
You've got things to do. We're recording this on what I believe the internet's calling Galentine's Day.
What's that?
Which is you and your gals treat yourselves, you don't need no man kind of thing.
Do you know what? Valentine's Day is just a commercial BS holiday. It really is. You shouldn't...
What's the thing you have to go and do? Which is why we're having to rush this recording.
Finish your Valentine's Day.
So that shows you what kind of hypocrite you're dealing with, but she will be fair and impartial during her review of Doctor Who.
Sir hugs a lot, and she's got those weird things in the garden.
Husband, wife, review Doctor Who from the start, because back in the early summer of 2018, this one here said, hey, let's box set Doctor Who next. So we did. And we are up to season 13 of the original run of the show, starting with... What's it called?
Terror of the Zygons.
Oh!
You're very loud.
What happens in Terror of the Zygons?
There are Zygons, and they're pretending to be people.
Cool. What's their plan? What are Zygons?
Zygons are these little squid sucker creepy people.
Sucker mother suckers.
And they are...
Trying to terraform Earth.
What?
They're trying to terraform Earth.
Terraform Earth. Because they're trying to get...
The planet was destroyed.
Yeah, so the planet was destroyed.
And it'll take them a while, but that's part of the plan.
Yeah, that.
What's that?
How
are they doing it? How are they infiltrating high up positions within government and military?
Yeah, they're stealing people and then taking their identities and pretending to be them, including vital characters such as Sarah Jane Smith.
No, Sarah Jane doesn't get duplicated in the story.
Yeah, she does.
Does she?
No.
Or are you thinking of a few stories?
No, I'm thinking of a few stories. I'm so sorry.
There are two stories. To be fair, there are two stories this series with duplicates.
No, damn it.
And in both stories, there is a duplicate of Harry. So
that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Because I was gonna say, that guy. Because I don't think Harry is very.
I
don't think he's like a substantial character to remember in my brain, I'm afraid.
No, Ian Martin does a fun job.
He does a good job.
There's a nice bit in this where when the Zygon version doesn't refer to Sarah Jane as old girl, you can see she's starting to get... No, it's when he calls her old girl on the ship, she's like, that's him. That's actual Harry.
Yeah.
But yeah, this we talked about this in the last video that Ian Martin was brought into the show because they wanted an Ian Chesterton kind of type again. They wanted a younger...
You cannot
No, not Ian. Well, you kind of have to over 10 years later. It's fair to have like a surrogate Ian Chesterton.
No, I don't think so. You've had Jamie!
And their plan was... Well, exactly. Same as Jamie, same as Stephen. They wanted a rough and tumble...
Worked.
They wanted a rough and tumble young male lead, but then they cast Tom, who wasn't an older actor. So Harry was a bit superfluous, because Tom could still be a bit rough and tumble if he needed to be.
I don't know why that was there.
I don't know. It's because after John they wanted to go older, and they didn't. And they ended up going with Tom. It was just because they auditioned Tom, they went, no, it's him. Like, he's got to be the Doctor.
He's mental,
and it was the smartest decision they ever made.
He's got crazy eyes.
Crazy Swayze eyes.
He has crazy Swayze eyes.
And, so Ian Martin is kind of superfluous, which is why they write him out in this story.
Yeah. I think it was right.
I like the trio. I think they have really fun moments, especially last series where, like, 4 of the stories just run into each other, so you're spending real time with them over the course of 4 stories.
Yeah, they did feel like a team.
And Harry's sort of casual sexism is weirdly charming in a way, because Sarah Jane keeps giving him looks that basically say, like, look, I'm only putting up with your shit because aside from this, you're a nice guy.
Yeah, I just found him a tad boring.
Did you find Zygon Harry scary, though? Because that scene in the barn in particular is pretty freaky.
Yeah, I'm quite shocked about that. Because that was scary.
When I first watched this one, that one really took me. I was like, oh God, like that's... Imagine being a kid and watching Sarah Jane getting attacked by something that looks like Harry holding a pitchfork.
Yeah, that was real peril, that.
It was proper spoopy stuff.
Because he falls back and lands on something
Gets
sharp,
impaled
doesn't he?
on a spoke of like a cart or a wheel or something.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
And Sarah Jane's like, oh wait.
But then the body's gone.
It's a squid.
What do we think of the locations? Because a big chunk of the story is spent in Scotland, specifically around the corner from which famous body of water?
Loch Ness.
Indeed.
Oh, we haven't mentioned
what the
Brigadier.
Right. Yes. Right. So, who's one of your favourite characters in this show?
Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart.
How did you feel when I told you that this is his last regular appearance in the show?
Well, you told me afterwards.
Yeah.
And I didn't mentally prepare myself. And now we know that I need to
prepare myself.
It's
not a last appearance. It's not delivered as a last appearance.
Having had him for so long with John Pertwee, I just was not ready to say, see you soon.
See you later, Brig.
I wasn't ready. Are you sneezy now? You've been a crazy dog. Oh my goodness. But yeah, but you see him in a kilt.
Yes, you do.
You do see him.
Well, his surname is Stewart.
Stewart.
As he points out in the most RP English accent ever. But it's true. The Doctor dresses up for the occasion when they first arrive, and then seems really miffed as to how sort of deep the mystery runs.
Yeah.
Because he's like the politics and the military bluster and all that shite.
This Doctor gets angry, doesn't he?
There are a couple stories in this. This one especially, and Seeds of Doom too, where I kept turning to you and going, it feels like these ideas were ruminating from the days of John.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, this feels like very Third Doctor-esque reactions. But then Tom puts his spin on it and stuff.
Yeah, it's very...
Especially Seeds of Doom, he's like punching and kicking and flipping and talking to people about the severity of the situation in ways where if it was John, he'd just be like short and clipped and be like, yes, there's no time for that, my good man. We're going to move on with this thing, and if you delay me one more time, I shall have words with your superior. And you'd be like, oh my God, it's John. Whereas Tom's just like, get on with it, you bastard. You're like, oh my God, all right.
I'm so sorry.
What do you think of the Scarazon, aka the Loch Ness Monster, and the fact that it could be lured with that little biological tracker that itself was alive, because at one point it bites into the Doctor's hand and won't let go. He's running across the field. Some of that compositing looked really nice.
Yeah.
Especially at the end.
I like
at the end where it didn't look great, but the image was great of it coming out of the Thames and him throwing the tracker into its mouth from the roof of the building was quite fun.
Yeah. I do like how they used the myth of Loch Ness.
Hey, Loch Ness!
It seemed obvious, but it was fine. Yeah. It was, yeah.
Did you like the Zygons?
I do like the Zygons. They just can't seem to get their masks right, can they?
Well, there's always like a central one who looks really good.
Yeah.
Like with the ice, the superior ice warriors.
Yeah.
Always look really good, and then the others just kind of like flappy.
And
set masks.
What
Same
else
with
was
these
it?
guys. Later in the series with
Sontarans.
Well, no, the Sontarans look good so far.
They do in their own special way. It's the eyes and the mouth that just they just get me.
No, forget them. Forget them.
They're just so silly.
Stigron later in this series, the dinosaur dude, just sort of hunched over in the android invasion. We'll get to him.
Why can't I remember anything? Why does this always happen? That as soon as we turn the camera on, we've just had a huge chat.
We did. I was like, do you want to have a recap? Considering we started this series about a month ago, and you went, sure. And I was reading out the plot of Terror of the Zygons. You were like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Remember that. Yeah.
And as soon as we sit down, it's like, whoo, gone. It's very annoying.
It's like Minnie's completely gone. Look at her. She's out of it.
I do apologise that it seems like I've not watched it, but I have. I promise.
I'd like to drink my tea.
Where is your tea?
That's right, I've got it. Yeah. I've got her at one arm and I've got my tea in another.
Little baby.
Little baba. So
yeah, I enjoyed it. It were
Torrier of the Zygoyenos.
It did feel a little bit of a slog at some points.
Yeah, some of these stories, like mercifully, a lot of this series doesn't linger too much when it's not hitting out because they're all bar one 4-episode stories.
Yeah.
But this one's great, but it does feel like you could do this in an hour and a half. You could do this in 3 episodes, or in a modern run, it'd be a 2-parter.
Yeah.
it'd be done quite nicely.
I felt that
But there's some good stuff in there. There's definitely some good stuff in there.
Yeah, the monster, what was its name?
The Scarazon.
It looks pretty good, because it was looking round and stuff, wasn't it? And it looked... one point, didn't it look down at something? And it was like, oh, that looks well good!
Yeah,
That looks good,
when it was plowing through the field, you looked proper impressed. You were like, oh my god, that's great.
With, like, model shots, stuff like that, I love it. I absolutely love it. Because of... I've forgotten his name. What is wrong with me? Is it this room? Has it put something in it? I just forget everything when I walk in. The stop-motion films, the first...
Ray Harryhausen.
I love those films.
Yeah.
They are epics. They're very, very long, but I love them. They look fantastic. So if there's stop-motion in something, or like, something really early, kind of like this, I just love it. Because I think it just looks fantastic.
Ton o' fun.
Physical, actual things... Make it better. Stop using CGI, for God's sake.
Well, sometimes green screen.
A lot,
sometimes green screen can be an interesting device. And this show has, if you could help me out with this, because I've got a dog on the other hand. This show has a bit of a thing with green screen where during John's era they're really trying out chroma key because the BBC had gotten hold of it and they were loving it and were really popular. But it's been used effectively a few times throughout Tom's era, especially in this one where they've used it for, like, prior to this, like in Revenge of the Cybermen and stuff, they use it for effects, for like virus designs on people's skin, things like that. This one, it's a whole monster made out of chroma keyed like visual effects over the shots. Welcome to the Planet of Evil, folks. The Doctor and Sarah Jane stumble across a planet where they are mining a new resource to help save the planet.
Because don't they? Oh no,
that's later. That's the Brain of Morbius.
That's right.
It's all blending into one a little bit.
Do you want me to grab the dog?
If it's okay, I'd like to use my human arms.
Here, Pudding. Oh, little mini me.
You finished your brew?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
thank you.
She's looking at you like,
I'm sorry, Minsk. If you lower her down, though, she could be in the video and we'll get 1 million subscribers. So, yeah. You've got the researcher Sorensen on this planet, Zeta Minor.
Sorry, she fell face first into my hands. That was very cute.
It's because we started hitting with the science and she got really bored. Zeta Minor, where they're like mining this resource because their planet is in desperate need of new fuel, new energy, but people start getting killed off by an unseen monster. Dr. Sarah Jane arrived just at the same time as like a military operation arrived to collect them and find out what's going on. Sorensen is found, but is a bit loopy. Everyone else is found, but in the form of a shriveled corpse in their suits, which is a prop they love so much they use it for everybody.
And it looks...
it looks
great.
Good, but it's the more they use it, the more you're like, okay.
It's laid the same, and it's dressed the same. It's like, what? This is just the same person, keeps dying over and over again.
But you realise that this planet Zeta Minor is on the edge of the end of our reality and the beginning of like a world of, as the Doctor's like a lot of people and cultures refer to it as nothing. It's antimatter, it's antimatter. It's the nothingness beyond the known existence. And the resource is part of that world, and by taking it, things are out of balance. So it puts the whole universe in danger, but in the more immediate future, it puts this crew in serious danger, which gets tricky when you've got the well, just name the characters really quickly: Wyszynski, Salamar, Dahan, Ponti, Morelli, who's played by Michael Wisher, which is really distracting because every time he's like giving directions and talking about the navigation from the controls, it's like, "There's Davros! Davros is over there!"
Only for a total nerd.
You heard it too.
Yes, slightly. I only realised after you'd
Sorry, if you're going to just stick out one hand, could you stick it out like you're hovering gently over a control panel in your chair? Or holding onto a tiny vial with a deadly poison in it.
Min.
I would do it. And power would set me up amongst the gods. So, yeah, this crew are a mix. You've got, the older soldier who has been there and done that and seen it all and done everything, and he's in no position to want to just go in guns blazing. He knows that there's always more to it, which goes against the head of the mission, who's a younger upstart who's really annoyed that he's been undermined. So there's tensions on the ship, especially when Sorensen eventually turns out to be infected because he's retained some of the antimatter material, and it starts to really, he looks sort of like... the best way to describe him is like if Jekyll and Hyde went from Spaceman turning into Igor. He sort of... He looks haggard and knackered and... So it's murdering people.
Doesn't
more
he
bodies are
doesn't he
found.
keep like changing into it and then he'll change back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's literally it's not like he's transformed into that and then transforms back so much as this is the antimatter like effect on him.
At first it was kind of like a poltergeist moment where he was looking in the mirror and he was like changing and it was like and then he looked back and he was normal. It was like.
Well, this is the one where the antimatter
happening?
beast is created by sort of.
It's like radio.
It's like a mix of it's like a mix of chrome key and casting one shot over another and the creature never has a specifically solidified form.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see how big it is. And it gets bigger when it first comes out of its pit as well. Like, it gets really big.
At the beginning, they were kind of running away from nothing, and then you see it, and then...
It was very all pre-Evil Dead, where it was from its POV. The jungle set looked great in this.
In the dark, yeah.
The jungle set looked really, really good in this one as well.
I thought Daleks were going to appear. Because it was like a group of men.
We'll get back to Terry later. But I know what you mean, like, it was the whole thing of, is it a radioactive jungle? No, it's just an alien jungle. And the world looked good, and the sets looked great, the ship set looked really good. They loved those glass control tables and control panels, because they kept shooting from underneath them. To be like, look at the glass! And you're like, yeah, I can see right up everyone's nose. What point is this?
I'm sure those actors loved that angle.
I think...
what are you doing?
Oh yeah, because this is the one where they nearly get cast out into space, basically as a funeral service to get rid of them.
Yeah.
That's pretty scary. I think Liz Sladen shines most in this one. Because there's some really creepy, dark concepts going on. And being the only sort of contemporary we have to react to it, she gets a lot of the emotional heavy lifting in this one. Especially the trying to sell the idea of when this thing arrives, because it's so out of whack with the known order of the universe and how things should be. Yeah. It's like she's paralysed. She doesn't know what the hell is happening. She sells that really well. Especially when Sorensen starts to transform, like, you know, she's the one who like pieces it together that he's the one who's got some of the antimatter still. And it's because of the way it makes her feel when he's around. It's like, that's creepy stuff. I was like the idea that the Doctor takes a sample in like a little mint tin. Like a little sweetie tin.
He's got everything in his pocket.
They bloody well does, the little bugger.
Knives and lint.
And everything but knives and lint for the Doctor. What do you think of Planet of Evil?
I thought it was good. I wasn't sure about it. Do you mind? Oh, stop that. I wasn't sure about it at first, but then it ended up being really, really good. Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a unique situation here. Lucy started this marathon because she was unfamiliar with the majority of classic Doctor Who, and yet we arrive at the story Lucy has probably seen before any other in her life.
When we first started doing this, I talked about how my mum and dad would watch this on Doctor Who on. Will you stop? On.
So what?
Stop tickling my foot.
I'm tickling your foot. Just holding it.
On like Gold or whatever.
UK Gold, BBC Two repeats for a chunk of time as well.
And every time I saw it, it was this one, Pyramids of Mars, because I remembered very clearly this bloke, the big mummy, the mummy with a huge chest piece, and I was like, what the
chest piece is so big they can hug you to death
and clamp you with their clammy clamp.
Give them the clamps.
That's what it makes me go.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was looking forward to this one because I don't think I've seen it all the way through, but I'd definitely seen the majority of the bits set in the house.
Yes, in the manor, the oh god, what's it called now? It's what the hell is it called? Because there's a whole recurring thing with it, isn't there?
House full
it's set in
Egyptian artifacts.
Oh my god, what's it called? You know exactly what I mean.
Sarcophaguses that were very, very well preserved.
Yeah, they always refer to it somehow. I can't remember what the hell they refer to it as. But it's a place that eventually, because they go back to Unit, that's the plan, and they land here instead.
Yeah.
And it's because it's the site of where Unit will be.
Yeah.
But it's in the building that existed before Unit's base, which Sarah Jane notes from the first episode. Oh yeah, and this place they had to rebuild it. And that's where they built Unit's base because this place was burnt down in a really horrific fire. Yeah. Okay. So this story is already setting up, like, by the time at the end of it, you're like, oh, it's setting up the idea of, time is always meant to go that way, and I guess this is how the fire started.
You pesky Doctor, and you pesky Sarah Jane.
But this is also the first story I can think of, and one of the very few in the whole show's run, where they toy around with the idea of travelling through time after they are part of events. Because they get out there, don't they? And she's like, right, look, can we just... Like, now we know... Like, we leave this place now, can we go back to London?
Yeah.
The Doctor's like, alright. Okay, go back to present day London. We'll go back to exactly this point.
Yeah.
So Charles forward, and they open the door. They look out, and the world's absolutely gone to hell. It's like, that's what happens if we don't stop Sutekh. That is what your present is going to be if we don't do this. And it's like, oh. Guess we better go back and fix everything. Sorry. So they do. So what is Sutekh, Boo? What is Sutekh?
He is a... he's a Egyptian...
He's no siren as the species.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's known
as the Egyptian god. He's Set, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been trapped there by another Egyptian god whose name escapes me.
Is it Horus who trapped him?
Horus, that's it. Oh, this is so annoying because I have a huge, massive nerd hard-on for Egyptian history and I can't remember any of it.
I said no swearing and here you are describing your hard-on. Fantastic.
Sorry?
I said no swearing and here you are describing your hard-on. Fantastic.
That's not swearing.
We've already said naughty words. Like Sutekh.
Sutekh.
It's a kinky-ass word, because every time someone says it, they're like, oh, yeah.
Sutekh. It's a good word.
It's a damn fine word.
But yeah, and he's he's kind of been found in this Egyptian tomb.
Yeah, in a pyramid, because we open in Egypt.
Is it set in the...
We open in Egypt.
Is it set in the 30s?
It is set in 1911.
Oh, right. Well,
so around the time when the world was obsessed with Egyptology.
Yeah. And that's why this wealthy Englishman had a mansion full of
Marcus Scarman.
Yeah.
He's
kind of like...
Yeah, I was going to say he gives a great performance, but he doesn't perform Marcus Scarman beyond the first scene. No. After that, he performs the corpse of Scarman being moved around with sort of a sentience, obeying the law of Sutekh, because Sutekh has a servant as part of it. It's a very universal horror thing of the monster has an enslaved servant who always does their thing. Yeah. Like the mummy films have done it. Dracula obviously always does it, so it's like... And Scarman is that kind of, but he's not really alive anymore. That performance is great. Yeah, that performance is great. What's the actor? I'll find the actor's name.
So he uses him to essentially set him free, because there's the gem, isn't there? The stone.
The Eye of Horus has got him trapped and everything.
Needs to be destroyed. So they need to find it, don't they?
Oh, it's essentially your classic thing, your classic puzzle stuff, because they have to get to Mars, like it's on Mars, a pyramid on Mars. Title drop. But throughout this story, we get sort of like Egyptology stuff. We have your mummies. Massive sarcophagi.
Yeah, it's pretty much a futuristic pyramid, because they burial chamber, because they have like puzzles to get into the rooms, and they have traps, and it's pretty cool, to be honest.
There's the Marconiscope that intercepts the signal from Mars that Scarman's brother Lawrence has invented. Those scenes are really sweet. Where the Doctor is like, yeah, no, it's a really crude version of this, that, and the other. And the guy's like, oh, because he just invented it. It was like crude. And then the Doctor kind of flips it around and is like, I'd love to see how it works. Yeah, and you can see that he's, without acknowledging it openly, he's basically gone, I've said too much, show me how it works. Because he genuinely is interested in like, oh, this is the first Marconiscope that's ever been made. Like, how did you do it? Show me how it works. That's just really sweet. The messages from Mars, that's nice and creepy, which in itself, is that an H.G. Wells reference? Because he intercepts a message from Mars.
Yeah.
Filly fam, flibby flam. What do we think of Sutekh?
Sutekh, his mask is very funny.
When you say his mask, do you mean his mask, like his Osiren headdress, big black and red thing? Or do you mean the mask used... It's not even a mask, it's just a prop for his actual appearance, which is like the jackal-like head.
It looks really silly.
You bought me that, you got me that toy. It's in that box over there.
Yeah, I think his...
I got him out before and gave him a little tickle.
His black and red one, it's with the creepy eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excuse me, that looks good, but... it just made me laugh. It took me out of it straight away. It made me realise, oh, this is aged. But no, I thought it was very creepy. I thought it was very good. And there's also that amazing moment where the Doctor and Sarah Jane turn that corner, see into the room. They're like, "Whoop!"
Yeah, the mummy turns around and just wordlessly. We rewound that a few times because Tom and Liz are so good at this point together.
Yeah, they are.
And it's the way they both react the same, which is their eyes just widen just a little bit, like and they just turn around.
You can hear the almost in their heads. It's very funny.
Gabrielle Wolfe was the voice of Sutek. It's great. This is a certificate U. I think this is one of the few we've watched so far that is a certificate U, which is
it's creepy though.
For American viewers. That is essentially it's a G rating. It's suitable for all. People die. People get crushed between the mummy's chests because we see like one of the mummies unravelled and then these wire-framed skeletal things. Yeah. So it's like that's a painful death. Yeah. People get like burned and zapped with rays.
Yeah, in the first part, there is a moment where the vessel of Sutek is like brought out of the sarcophagus, and he comes out of the whatever dimension.
Yeah, because before he retakes the form of Scarman, isn't it? And he just sort of looks like a BDSM extreme
like leather
gimp.
gloves and stuff. And as he's walking, he's burning the carpet as he walks, and then he just grabs hold of the guy that kind of opened the portal, and just like crushes him and kills him.
Mm.
And am I wrong in saying that he like melts, or am I just made that up?
I think he might. I can't quite recall.
I can't remember. But
I remember Sutek going into
grim.
Massive descriptions of like shredding the Doctor's nervous system into a billion pieces and all this stuff. You're like, this is a certificate, Hugh.
And then they unravel the mummies, and isn't it almost like it's just like a?
It's just a wireframe skeleton. It's like hollow inside.
Was it not like a Clockwork Triangle? Oh no, that was something else.
You're a story ahead.
I'm jumping ahead.
I think. I know you say you've got a favourite this series, but I think another one's actually invaded your head a little bit
that
more.
One you're thinking of is definitely my favourite.
Okay.
But I thought that might just be me, but I thought that was creepy. The thought of it not having anything in it, and it's just walking around. It's like. What?
So the blowing up of the attempted blowing
Traguna
up...
McCoy's Tragorum Satus too much, jeez.
The attempted blowing up of the ship outside, which is pyramid-shaped.
Yeah.
The way they trap Sutek basically in the in the sort of the vortex between existences, and he'll just basically be there until he dies. Great. Mm-hmm. We talked about it afterwards. Like I said, did you recognise the voice of Sutek? And you went, I did a bit, yeah. And I was like, right. It's the voice of Satan in The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit. And of course, at one point, the Doctor talks about the names that this creature, Sutek, has gone by in different mythologies, one of which is Santa Claus. No, Satan. So...
I got confused about what you were saying then.
Yeah, so basically, in this story, the Doctor talks about the names that Sutek has been referred to throughout history. Like the entire thing of the Egyptian gods has been essentially created as a way to explain the Osirians and how they have interacted with Earth in the past. Surprise! All Egyptian gods are aliens that the Egyptians then were like, this is what they are! And everyone went, oh, look at them and their god mythology. And it's like, no, these things visited our planet and like fucked around with people and stuff. But he talks about how Sutek is referred to as different things in lots of mythologies and religions, and he lists a bunch of names, and one of them is Satan. So Gabrielle Wolfe was obviously cast in The Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit as the voice of Satan as a nod to Sutek. Implying that possibly in one plane of existence they are all one and the same being. In different
that's
forms.
very interesting.
Yeah. But think about the power that Satan has in the Satan Pit. It is and again, this is a setting. It's imprisoned. It needs to be freed by an outside influence. It lures that outside influence down. Meanwhile, it has seemingly normally placid and harmless individuals possessed doing its bidding.
I'm trying really hard not to sing right now.
Why?
Because
you're going to sing a ghost song.
I'm currently
You're wearing the t-shirt. Everyone can see it. Pyramids of Mars. Do we like it?
Loved it.
Do we like the fact that Sarah Jane spends the story wearing one of Victoria's dresses?
Yeah, it's cute.
Do we like the fact that they burned the priory? Priory! Hey! Did they burn the priory at the end?
Yeah, sure.
And complete the story that they sort of hinted at the start.
They don't really use doors in this. They go through that window, don't they, constantly?
They do.
Oh my god! And the moment where they're going underneath the windows... Sorry, I get impressed by really silly things.
Oh, it's that long shot of...
The Doctor and Sarah Jane, like, creeping underneath the windows. But the Doctor, he's not bending down. He's just, like... don't even know how to
just kind of squatting and walking.
He's squatting and walking at the same time. It's like, whoa, the power you've got in your legs. I'm so impressed. But he didn't stop. It was like, what?
So, next...
These are the things I notice.
We have the android invasion. What happened in the android invasion, my dear?
You're so much better at describing things.
You've got this. You've got this. You've got this. All right. What? Describe how it begins. What happens? The Doctor and Sarah Jane arrive, presumably near Unit's space base, or a space base that they use because they've been there before. Because they go to a small village. What happens in the small village? Well, hang on. What happens before they get to the small village? They find a unit soldier who does what?
He falls down a cliff.
Yeah.
Oh, a big hill.
And well, it's a cliff.
It's a quarry, let's just say that.
What happens to him? What's occurred?
He's dead.
He snuffed it, hasn't he?
He dies, yeah. He's
bloody snuffed it, mate.
Pretty much dead, yeah.
He's bloody snuffed it, son.
Yeah, he is. And and yeah, they walk into the village and there's nobody there.
Oh.
And you shall carry on because I'm terrible at describing it.
Except then they go into the pub because it's Tom Baker, and once they get in the pub, a truckload of people show up, and there's people in white hazmat suits have been shooting at them with their fingers.
With
finger guns, which I'm sure kids in the playground for a couple of weeks were probably doing that in the playground, shoot finger guns.
Now they'd be told they'd be excluded.
Anyway, guns, Doctor Who.
No, never mind.
Oh, the kids are excluded for shooting finger guns. Pew, 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 pew. Unless they're walking around like that. And then they could pretend it's funk. So, all the Ghostbusters...
we said no waffle and we've waffled so much. God.
They bring a truck full of people who seem to be, like, in a trance. And then they all get into position around the village and in the pub. And then the clock strikes a certain time. And they all start moving and carrying on with the day. And it's like, oh... And the thing is, I'd seen this before, but watching it this time, it immediately reminded me of The World's End. Like I got that vibe, after the plot starts to get uncovered in that a bit more, and you can see the uniformed pattern of the people. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is weird. And it's a similar thing, because they are all indeed what? There's in the title.
Androids.
What did you think?
Are they androids?
Yeah, they're androids. They're all androids.
Oh, I thought they were people that had been... because it's not Earth, is it?
That's the twist, because we think they're on Earth, yeah.
Spoilers.
And then when Sarah Jane, the Doctor was part of the thing, they split up and Sarah Jane gets sent back to the TARDIS. The Doctor gives her the key.
Yeah.
I love how just casually he gives the key. He's like, yeah, there you go. Well, that happens a couple of times.
And that's a good key as well. I've seen that key.
It's a damn fine key.
It is. It's interesting. More interesting than... Ow, please be careful.
Caught your foot, sorry.
It's more interesting than just a regular Simpsons
The Yale key. Well, I quite like the Yale key. I think the conscious decision to keep it a Yale key in the modern series, I'm sure it's Russell T Davies has said at some point, the reason they did that is because they like the idea of kids playing having the TARDIS key.
Okay, I'll take that back then. That's very cute.
And it's part of the disguise as well, isn't it? Like, it's disguised as an Earth object, so
but you're more likely to mix it up with something else, aren't you? But anyway, we're getting onto something else now.
But she puts the key in the TARDIS, sees one of these pods that they've noticed everywhere.
Yeah.
And the TARDIS...
Almost looks like a sarcophagus, doesn't it?
It does. And then the TARDIS dematerialises. She's like, what the hell? As we find out later in the story, the Doctor says, like, that shouldn't have happened. It's been left that way because you put the key in the door. She went, yes. And it wasn't touched for like about 30 seconds. Yeah, right. Well, what that is the TARDIS goes into emergency protocol because it thinks it's been broken into. And it goes back to a safe spot, so it goes back to Earth. Wait a minute. Aren't we on Earth? Nope!
We're not on Earth.
They're in a simulated environment created by, I want to get the species name right, they are the Billy Hum-Hey-Hoos. Kralls.
Yeah, they're like gargoyles.
Yeah, whose planet is...
Melted
screwed! Yeah. So they are looking for another planet to live on, and they have chosen Earth and created this village and its patrons based around the memories of an astronaut called Crayford, who went missing, according to Sarah Jane, went missing a while ago on a space mission from UNIT, never turned up, presumed dead. Turns out he apparently did crash. He got fatal injuries. And the Kralls rebuilt him and went, right, look, our people are dying. Our planet is going to screw us over soon. You come from Earth. We want to move our population to Earth. So we're going to infiltrate it a bit. We don't think if we just showed up it would be fine, so we need to infiltrate it. And here's how... Obviously, they do not say it this like gently, like, hi guys, so...
We've got this plan.
So we need to infiltrate it and settle
okay?
in, and then some of our representatives alongside you on your return will explain to them what we need to do and how easy it will be. And Crayford's like, great, so you'll live alongside humans and we'll make it work and we'll save a species. Brilliant! Yes, I'll help you create a faux version of like a local village from where I'm from and just obviously get the hang of it and all that stuff. Great, cool, boom. But Stegron, the main scientist who's doing all this, is like, yeah, that's not the plan. Like, as soon as we get there, our android that'll be hiding in plain sight will release a toxin that will kill the world's population within weeks.
And finger guns.
And then we're just going to join them and join the planet and live there. Crayford has been essentially brainwashed since he arrived. He believes he was rebuilt from serious injuries. He didn't get injured at all. He's that convinced that he's wearing an eye patch throughout all this.
He is.
And only toward the end when the doctor's like, just look under it, that he does, and it's like, he still has his eye. Like, he was never damaged. He was never injured.
Ew, does that mean he doesn't wash his face?
Yes, it means he washes his face, but I guess you wouldn't, like, lift it up and wash your socket, would you? Just sort of get in there and... I don't know, he's got other priorities. So the androids are the people in disguise. They're also... They're also the hazmat suited creatures.
They're like
which
astronauts.
Sarah Jane like sees one without the visor, and it's
that
just
makes sense. The astronaut kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, they said the costumes kind of looked a bit like the Ambassadors of Death from John's first series, but like she like sees one with the visor off, and it's just this. I think it's what you were saying before about clockwork droidy things.
Yeah,
it's just wires and cogs.
Yeah.
And,
it was creepy. That
spooky stuff. We get a Sarah Jane duplicate filling in for Sarah Jane for a while, and the Doctor uses some super sneaky methods to figure out that it's not her. I love the scene preceding that where he's just waiting in the pub.
Yeah.
He keeps ordering a ginger ale and there's no one else going in there and the barman's there and he's clearly kind of... He's not annoyed because he's an android, but you can tell that he's being very assertive because it's this whole thing of like, he should not be here. He should not be here. Mm-hmm. So he keeps pouring him There's a pint of what? Ginger ale. He just keeps drinking ginger ale and hanging out in there. It's just loads of little things like... God, it's so good. I love it. I love it.
What, something about coins.
Yeah, the coins. The giveaway that sums up is when they first check the wallet of the unit, the supposedly dead unit officer.
Yeah.
To get some information on him.
Check his wallet.
And they found, because you get the ID out and you find out where he's based, so you can phone them and inform them. But like all the coins he's got are all minted, and they are all the same date, and they're all completely clean. Mm-hmm. And when they go to the pub, they check the bar. All the coins are clean, and all of them the same date, and it's because they've all just been recreated from one memory. Mm-hmm. I love this. I remember watching this already one time and being like, yeah, sure. But this time around, I've really enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was good.
And what's really nice and surprising about that is it's Terry Nation, who, those who've watched this series will know, This'n kind of hates when his scripts roll around.
It's all the same.
But this one's very different.
It was very different and very good.
And it's like a proper Twilight Zone-y kind of...
It was, yeah.
Like, a bit Quatermass, and when you get the duplicate of the Doctor, when they get back to... Because obviously this is the second one where this is Harry's last appearance, with Ian Moss playing mostly an android Harry and then the real Harry. And this is also Benson's last regular appearance.
Benson's not in this one.
Benson was the android all along.
Oh my god, no!
So, you get all these extra things. Nicholas Courtney wasn't available, so they create a different captain character to fill in.
Which I'm not happy about.
They still use the Brigadier's office as a location.
Yeah.
It has my favourite shot in the whole freaking thing. When the android doctor shows up at the door and the doctor goes like, yes, very good. And then he just leaps through the window.
We rewound that a few times.
It's so quick.
This had a few rewind moments, didn't it? When
it's on the back. Sarah's android first falls over.
But she proper...
To reveal her android parts.
She proper face plants the ground in a flawless fall. I'm actually impressed with her because that would have taken some practice to fall and not put your hands out in front of you. She proper face planted that floor and rolled over.
Is someone starting to like Sarah Jane Smith?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm turning slightly.
Is it their relationship?
Yeah.
Is it the way they bounce off each other?
She's getting less screamy, whiny.
She's also a lot more cutting than previous companions. Like, people say crap to her. She's sort of like, she bites her tongue a bit. Like, okay. But if she has the opportunity to do it, she's just like, screw you! And then you're like, oh, damn!
She can hold her own. And I think that's a character progression, which I think she did really, really well.
Did you like the stick on? The one trait I've noticed you keep spotting whenever we have aliens that are heavily masked characters. One trait that you always point out, and I think you really just appreciate the level of detail, is when they have facial hair.
Yeah.
Like, because in this one of them, the leader of the
like whiskers.
What the hell are they called? The bloody
Kronks.
the Kralls. Like, one of them had sort of like a, sort of Emperor Ming kind of wispy moustache, like a Ra's al Ghul sort of thing, and you were like, nice.
I think it's cool that they look different. I mean,
remember the Draconians? You spent like that first part of that story going like, oh, that one's got like a little beard, that one's got a bigger beard, and he's got a bit of hair at the top of his head, and he's got a ponytail in the back. And it was like, damn.
I mean, even the Zygons, they looked different.
Yeah, one of them was dubbed really badly. Do you remember the one with the female voice just didn't quite sync up the lips?
That was a rewind moment as well. Yeah,
and also the way they were also rewinded a lot when they were just fondling their organic controls.
No, right. What has Doctor Who got with controls? Because there's always lots of zoomed-in shots of people fondling them.
Especially in the Zygon one, because they're just fleshy.
They are actually fondling them.
And the Axon one was kind of similar. It was all fleshy stuff as well.
Axon.
Oh, God.
Thanks, Phil.
But yeah, did you like the Android invasion?
Yes.
Yay!
I thought that was fun. Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could get off Earth this series a little bit. Really, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been on Earth for 3 of the 4 stories so far. Oh, look! The Brain of Morbius! So, what happens in this one? It starts off with the Doctor and Sarah Jane landing on the planet Khan against their wishes.
They're wanting to go to Earth, aren't they? They're trying to get back.
But who sent them there? Even though they won't make their presence known.
Time Lord.
The bloody Time Lord!
Bloody Time Lord.
And the Doctor just out and out refuses to do anything. He's like, nope, not going to investigate. Screw it. I'm just going to sit
here. Oh, God, no.
Sod it. Not going to do it. Unless you're going to tell me, I'm not doing it. I'm not your puppet. Goodbye. And Sarah Jane's too curious. She's like, no, let's see what's going on. The story opens with a giant bug alien looking scared and lost, trying to defend itself.
Sad, really.
Getting killed. Then getting its head cut off.
Yeah, gee, what age is this one? PG?
As a PG. And then contains moderate fantasy violence and scary scenes.
Oh, I love that description. Scary scenes.
Scary scenes to tell in the dark. So we get that set up. We have the Sisterhood of Khan.
Love them.
Who are mad at the Time Lords. They hate them. They think the Time Lords are trying to limit their society because the Sisters of Khan are the keepers of the flame. That basically is for eternal life. The elixir of life is something they look after, and they and
it's dying out, and they're blaming the Time Lords for that because
the Time Lords have apparently sought after it in the past. Because the Time Lords may regenerate, but they do not hold the secret to eternal life. And the lead sort of matriarch of them all. What's her bloody name? Is it Marin or Kondo? No, it's Marin. What am I talking about? Cynthia Grenville. She's like, nah, hate them. Bloody hate them.
Kill them.
Kill them.
Kill them all.
She expects Time Lord intervention. Of course, we know the Time Lords have sent the Doctor here, so why? But it's kind of obvious that he's there to help them. In the meanwhile, though, Dr. Solon,
who's fab,
and his Igorish character assistant Kondo, are doing what?
They are. I was just going to say spoilers there, but this is very old.
It's a oh God, what? It's a nearly 40-year-old story. So go to town.
Spoilers. He seems to have a very strange interest in heads because gross. Because he's trying to rebuild a body.
Story. Sorry, my maths is terrible.
Rebuild a body. I don't know, better than mine. Rebuild a body for Morbius, who was a Time Lord.
A renegade Time Lord.
That did lots of bad things and was executed, but he managed to save his brain.
And has a bit of a cult following. There are people who like... He
was right.
He radicalised a lot of people, both Time Lord and off-world.
So he's trying to rebuild him a body, and the Doctor and Sarah Jane end up going to his like castle
Yeah, full-on Frankensteinian setting.
Yeah. Which is why I like it, because it's...
What's the fact that it got like a few minutes in and you were like, it's very Hammer horror, this. And I was like, you don't know fucking, like, the full body of it, yeah.
We ended up watching this whole one in a night.
The Hinchcliffe era is upon us, son.
Awesome.
Things are getting spooky in Doctor Who.
Yeah, so the Doctor and Sarah Jane end up going there, and they're just curious as to what's happening. And the Doctor ends up being drugged, and because he wants to steal his brain. Oh, his head.
His head,
Sorry, not his brain. Take the brain out.
With the added bonus when he realises the Doctor's a Time Lord, he's like, oh, how fitting is that a Time Lord head will be his new, like, his new vessel. Like an insult. He's wearing the corpse of the society that damned him as a head. It's like, what a creepy idea.
But Sarah Jane, smart lady, did not drink the drink that they were given, and she hears all this, and she goes to try and get the Doctor out. But then the Doctor disappears.
He ballywell does.
Where does he go?
He's been taken by the Sisterhood of Cain, who were like, you're a Time Lord.
We sensed you were here. What the hell are you doing here?
We're going to execute you in a big old dramatic Wicker Man-esque fashion.
Can you tell that I like this one? Because I can remember everything that happened.
I know. Well, here's the thing.
That's not good, is it?
The way we watch this, because Lou is a very busy lady, she works full-on days, I'm a freelance layabout, so I work mostly from home at the moment, and
I
as
make
a result,
a lot of things when I get home.
As a result, we watch maybe 1 or 2 episodes, sometimes 3 of Doctor Who, pretty much like every other evening at least. Sometimes we'll have like 4 or 5 days in a row where we just watch Doctor Who in the evening. Sometimes it'll be like once a day and then something else the next night. Just space.
We watch a lot of Doctor Who. I just want to point that out.
You set the mission.
I know.
We've got to complete it. We are now at the halfway point of the classic run.
Oh,
so
we're nearly there. Give us another 2 years. We're nearly there.
We'll be saying hello to Paul McGann in 2022 at this rate.
God, we'll have had a child by then, I'm sure. Flippin' heck. You'll have seen all of our life journeys.
Well, you won't. You'll have seen all of them from the neck down.
We got a dog.
It's like, look, it's a baby.
We're waffling again.
Baby waffle. So
baby train.
Sister can't like, we're gonna kill you. You son of a bitch. You're obviously here to mess with us. As the story goes on, the Doctor learns what's going on, why they're paranoid. It's because Minnie. It's because the flame is going out, and he's like, look, this is there is ritual here. Yes, there is there is mysticism to a point. Whatever, you can tell he kind of doesn't believe in any of it, but he respects it enough, maybe because they're going to kill him. But he's like, look, I get it. Maybe I was sent here because the natural, what would you call it? The natural chemical balance of this situation needs adjusting. And then everything will go back to normal. Like, the reason you're running out of this elixir that keeps the Sisterhood alive is because the flame isn't helping to produce it anymore because of X, Y, and Z. And he eventually does manage to get his moment to show them what he means and restores the flame.
Soot.
You literally just put some soot in it, the flame goes down, they're like, kill him, kill him, kill him! And then, of course, it reignites and is bigger, and he's like, just give it a few more days, and it'll start to produce the elixir again. And it's like, oh my god. But the reason the matriarch of it all, the reason she's so embittered is because she believes that the Time Lords are nothing but evil. They only want to interfere. She won't accept any other explanation. Like, she teleports the TARDIS there to make sure he can't leave the planet. And also, you get the idea that he talks to her and he's like, you made yourself immortal at a late age in your life. Like, you feel, you will always be weak. Like, she'll always be weak and she'll always be embittered. Because she's seen too much. She doesn't have that hope still that you sort of retain more of when you're young, and as a result she's always been way more defensive and violent against any signs of attack. Because at first they believe that all the spaceships in the spaceship graveyard around are because of a field that the Sisterhood have created to stop people coming to the planet. But then you sort of realise it's also kind of partly down to Dr. Solon, and that's how they're getting hold of bodies to hack up, because what is in the lab?
That meat thing there,
that much of it.
That is nowhere near as horrifying as it looked when Sarah Jane accidentally fell through the curtain and saw it the first time. It was just a meat sack, wasn't it, without a head?
Writhing flesh.
It was very creepy, with a giant claw and a human hand.
When did you twig that was Kondo's missing arm?
didn't wake until he
Horrible,
realised it was like,
it's horrible,
you bastard!
isn't it?
No.
It's like, because Kondo's only been serving Dr. Solon on the promise that he'll be restored, he'll have his arm restored, and then you realise, wait a minute, that's not going to happen, because the arm is part of this creature, and he's given it because Kondo's, like, species or whatever is obviously very naturally strong.
Yeah.
So that's why the body has his arm, because it gives it extra strength. Alongside a big claw and a big fleshy body.
I want to know where that claw's from. Can we get a bit of backstory?
Well, I mean, we're different planet. They're different species. Remember the insectoid thing at the beginning? There's lots of different species that arrived on the planet. So
I just feel bad for it.
do you feel bad for Morbius and his brain in a jar downstairs? Very future armory. I
found it quite funny when he dropped it. Oh no, when it fell.
Yeah.
Squelched on the ground. I thought that was quite funny. And then they put it in that. That is a monstrosity. That's an abomination, and I love it.
It's the fact that Morbius is like, the Time Lord's going to come here. They're going to get me. You started to create a port, and I love how they reveal that in that scene. You started to create a portable unit to attach me to something to keep me going. Like, because that's the thing is when Morbius is like, I don't care what my physical form is. I need to have a physical form. I am trapped here. I'm helpless. The Time Lords will get me, execute me on the spot, give me a body. And then, like, he literally... We joked, didn't we, that you were like, oh, is that the bin? Is he going to pull it out of the bin? And then he pulls it out of the bin.
He pulls it out of the bin!
It's like, oh, that's amazing, because even Dr. Solon is like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. And then the brain nearly gets damaged, and then he tries his best. And it does get damaged for a time, because at first he's just this bestial thing. It's just acting on instinct and lashing. And then when he finally comprehends, when this finally sees what it is and what it looks like, he freaks out in horror. He's horrified at what he is.
He starts lashing out. And because he was dropped, he's got, like, a bit of brain damage.
Yeah.
So he just starts flailing and lashing out at everything, doesn't he?
Sarah Jane's an absolute boss in this one.
She is. She's...
saving the day.
She does really well. She pretends to be... when the Doctor has been tied up by the sisters of Flim Flam...
Sisters of Khan.
They essentially tie him to a post and are going to burn him. And it's pretty cool because they do like a ritual dance, don't they? And all their torches set alight as they go, which is pretty cool. And Sarah Jane pretends to be one of them so she can get close to him, take some like pliers out of his own pocket and put them in his hand. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's some pretty cool stuff.
Oh,
how did the Doctor defeat Morbius?
I'm not comfy, am I?
After Solon is killed in the lab, if I remember correctly.
Well, they chase him...
back in Solon,
they chase him out.
Or Doctor and Solon, Dr. Solon sedate him when he's in his feral state, but then the Doctor defeats him in the basement lab through like a battle of wits. It's a Time Lord game where they'll psychically link up together.
No, they don't. He falls off the cliff. The sisters chase him because it's like the pitchfork moment with Frankenstein's monster. He falls off the cliff.
Oh, he does. Yeah, but like after the mental battle. Like that happens after the mental battle.
Yeah.
The thing with the hooked up thing. In which it's basically a Time Lord game where they try and outdo each other with just like memory and intellect. And it's this whole thing of Morbius was, as a cult-like following, people have worshipped him, but what has he done beside be this renegade Time Lord who's caused harm and upset? The Doctor's lived a shed load and kind of uses that to overpower him. And it's the first time really in this run where we're like, let's look at other incarnations.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What was going through your head watching that?
I was like,
because, there's John.
John, Paddy, and
Well.
Billy. Billy. And then there was other people, and it was like, what? Is this Morbius's kind of...
That's how some fans have tried to get away with explaining it. They've said, like, oh, that must just be Morbius, but the idea is that the Doctor's overpowering Morbius.
So why would it show the Doctor's first, and then Morbius's? Surely it would be the other way around if it were that.
Well, these are the Doctor's previous incarnations. Now,
but then it messes up the numbers.
Well, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't at this point. At the time
not
of
at this point, but like...
Because at this point, it's
now,
just... it's Doctor Who, and he has different faces, and he's been played by William Hartnell.
There's too many rules. They've set too many rules.
Later on.
And it's just like, well, how do you explain this, and how do you explain this? And nitpicky fans like me, and...
Now, the thing is, this could retroactively be canonised very easily, because we know from later stories that the Time Lords can give new regeneration cycles.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a story next series specifically about that.
Yeah.
5 Doctors goes into it again, where they're just casually offered to a character as a means of repayment. We know that it can be done, because in the modern series, Matt Smith, who's allegedly the last incarnation, is given a new regeneration cycle by the Time Lords, making Capaldi and Whittaker the first and second incarnations of the new body. But what's to say that the Doctor hadn't already had a regeneration cycle pre-Hartnell? Now, obviously, when this came out, these were just, these must have been his older faces. These were his previous faces. Yeah. Whereas now it's all a bit more complicated. But as of this recording, we are up to Can You Hear Me in Series 12 of the modern series. A couple of stories ago, we met Ruth, who's revealed to possibly be a previous incarnation of the Doctor. So for all we know, we're about to learn about a previous life cycle that he has seemingly forgotten about.
I don't know what's going on.
Or in the case of the current series, that she has seemingly forgotten about. And that might finally sort of canon away this moment as they were part of the original life cycle. And you just accept it and move on. Who knows? But what I do knows is that you really dug the Brain of Morbius.
Loved it.
So much so that how many nights did we spend watching it?
1.
We just sat through the whole damn thing.
And Christopher knows that I've
No!
Morbius, no! And look at that. That's scary. That looks like they've literally found props in their cupboard and been like, just sew them together.
So how do I know that it's a good story?
Because I put everything down and watched it.
You stopped making any of your projects.
I stopped making Baphomet to watch this.
Well, was it all worth it? Because so far I've enjoyed the series.
It's got no toes. That's a bit unnerving.
We hit the first 6-parter and only 6-parter of the season with the Seeds of Doom, or as a friend of the show, Matt Watson, calls it, The Thing, and then they'll have a horror in a house. What is happening in the Seeds of Doom? What's found in the Arctic?
A seed.
Seed pod. New plant life. And who wants to get a hold of it?
This fella.
Yeah, well, there's like the
He's
there's like the Ecological Society or whatever. And they're like, yes, we must study this and look into it and this, that, and the other. But there's also plant collector Harrison Chase,
who looks exactly like Christopher Walken, and it was very distracting.
Specifically,
he does a Christopher Walken impression, and it's too good.
Specifically, looks like Christopher Walken in Batman Returns. He looks like Max Shrek.
He looks exactly the same. If you can get a picture of both of them and put it up in this,
I don't edit these. So, guys, Google. Christopher Walken's Max Shrek and is it Harrison Chase? Harrison Chase from the Seeds of Doom.
I haven't got my phone. We can't do a drive.
That's all right. Careful. Everyone's going to fall right over a drive.
A drive-by? What's wrong with
God, this would be evidence. So what happens? What happens? How does he try to get hold of the seed pod in the Arctic?
He sends some people that have gotten lost in the Arctic, and they end up at the science base.
It's Scorby. Scorby is the first one, isn't he?
He reminds me of Adam Driver. Is that right?
Yeah, it reminds you of Adam Driver.
It was really distracting.
And it was only
nothing like him.
It was only after the story I realised, wait a minute, that's Boise from Only Fools. Which really confused me.
Which I don't know.
But he's good in it. And then Keeler, who the biologist, who is also sent there as well to make sure that they get hold of the right pod and bring it back. So it's an infiltration. It's an infiltration thing to get hold of the seed pod. And who else is down there? Let's just double check everyone is down there. Charles Winlett and Derek Mobley and John Stevenson are the scientists down there, the botanists.
I think the Doctor's quite mean to the scientists because he's kind of treating them like they're stupid.
As the story goes on, you kind of get why, because the severity of he knows what this is. This is one of the few stories where from the beginning they've arrived there and the Doctor's like, I know what this is. Because what's sort of implied here is that they managed to get home nearly, saw this, and he's like, no, we have to go now. We have to go to the Antarctic and get this dealt with. Because he knows what this is. It's a crinoid. And a crinoid is a parasitic plant-based life form that mutates, spreads out like the red weed, and devours, like, everything.
Dear devourer of worlds.
And children. He is the eater of worlds, and it devours everything, and it spreads, and after a certain amount of time it germinates and its seed pods shoot out elsewhere and create more crinoid until the whole planet's completely covered.
Yeah.
And then what's implied here is that he's like, it looks like they're finding a way to now somehow send pods out into the stars. Maybe it was brought here by accident. Maybe it was just shot out into the universe and it's ended up here. But there's 2 pods, and we have to get rid of it. One infects someone at the station, and turns them into this rampaging vine creature, and the other is stolen and taken back to Chase's mansion. So the first 2 episodes, as Matt said, is The Thing.
Yeah.
It's a horrible tentacled beastie. It's not mimicking other people. We've had 2 stories about that already this series, but there is a whole thing of there are people who can't be trusted at the base. That gets really tense. Like the hostage situation stuff, and then they leave them to blow up in the explosion.
Yeah.
You've got from the Botanist Society. You've got the Ecology Bureau. You've got Richard Dunbar, who's answering to Sir Colin Thackeray. And Thackeray's on the side of good. Thackeray's on the side of good. Dunbar is giving this information to Harrison Chase and be like, we've got this rare thing, give me some cash and I'll give you the lead. But he's not into Chase's methods. He's not happy when he finds out people have died. Apparently.
Yeah, and he tries to stop it,
we kept laughing every time his name was mentioned because Dunbar is the surname of Craig Ferguson's primary school teacher in a really hilarious clip, which...
You should definitely search it.
Look up Craig Ferguson,
won't regret it.
Mrs. Dunbar.
It's extreme. I'm laughing just thinking about it.
I'll find you, Craig. I'll eat a level for me breakfast. So there's that. I'll find you, Craig. So then it shifts to the mansion, and the Doctor and Sarah Jane get there to try and infiltrate it and stop it all from happening, which of course baffles Corby and everybody. Like, how the hell did you get here so quick? I mean, A, you're dead, and B, we only just got back. Like, how? But what follows is essentially a Hammer horror movie about a plant infecting Keeler, so it's infecting him, and that horrible thing where like they're keeping him in the room, and it's like, no, Chase is like, don't worry, I'm going to help you, we're going to make this work, it's going to be wonderful, and they just send in the butler, sending him plates of like raw meat and stuff, and awful, and he's just like strapped to the bed, and he's clearly, he knows he's going to turn into this thing, because he knows Chase is not going to get help. It's horrifying. It's really spooky.
The makeup and the prosthetics and stuff of him like changing constantly are all different, and I think they look really good.
I love how both creatures get to a certain stage where it is just the Axon costume.
Yeah, it is.
Coloured green with little orange gaps on it.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see the orange, especially that first one. You could definitely see it.
But then it starts to mutate further. And then we get the big-ass, like, bubbly creature, which I think, again, chroma key ages and composite in ages, but it looked... Yeah, it's very The Blob, the way they shoot it.
Yeah.
It looks great. It looks really good. The big tentacle just smacking against the side of the manor.
Yeah, it did look
looks really good. The model shots of the manor for certain things in the story, like explosions and everything, look really good.
Spoilers.
The use of, like, plant tentacles and all this stuff, they were like, right, we have to shoot the show very quickly. We don't have the time to do... We've been talking about these a lot recently because I shot a gremlin sketch for a Big Damn video where Matt gets grabbed by a gremlin hand and pulled down and shot. But the way we did it, because it's hard, like it's not an animatronic hand, it's a static hand. The way we did it is it had to be hooked into his jumper and then we shot it in reverse. So we had to act it in reverse, being grabbed. So instead he's like... coming up into shot and then relieved.
That's well done, Matt.
He does it really well.
It looks really good. You should go and watch it, guys.
We call that the tentacle shot, because whenever you see a practical tentacle grab something in a show or a film, 9 times out of 10, it's a reverse shot.
And it's damn effective. Done right, it's damn effective.
But it takes a lot of time to get all those shots. So for this, they go for a very simple method of the plants being threatening, and they just use a shit ton of branches and leaves. The idea of it just kind of being everywhere. Certain specific shots where you see, like, later on when you've got Corby and Sarah Jane and stuff, they're, like, pulling at vines around their neck and things like that. So you sort of go, oh my god, these plants are killing people.
Yeah, it was like...
but the
Devil's Snare. Almost.
Yes. Yeah. But the claustrophobia is sold just by how much foliage they use in those shots where it's like, we have to get through this stuff. Like, it's right near the camera, and they use, obviously, some external shots. They're just running through a forest. And sometimes it's, like, props, like in the greenhouse, the spooky-ass... You kept saying it's like the start of the Poison Ivy boss level in Arkham Asylum.
That's exactly what it made me think
of. It really is, isn't it? And although she wasn't sat there with an electronic keyboard playing some sweet-ass orchestral beats to her plans.
What did we say when we were like, the hell is that noise?
The score's not very good.
The score is terrible in this scene.
Like,
oh wait, he's playing this on purpose.
Yeah,
wow.
This is Chase's compositions, and he's very proud. And then Chase is
he's crazy.
He kind of plays it like a man possessed, but the Krynoid hasn't like possessed him. I don't think. Did you take it that way? It seemed more like it wasn't like he was under.
He was at some point.
It wasn't like he was
point.
under a spell. It was more just like his actual weird, creepy obsession. With plants are the superior life form. Like that's why the Krynoid doesn't kill him. It just kind of goes. You're not going to be a problem.
I think it did possess him at one point because he was talking about. Was he talking in like third person or something?
Well, he was talking to the plants. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he did get infected by it. My green hair has made its way into shot.
But I do like the sort of the just manic, creepy ass.
He always had gloves on. I thought they were going to bring something up about the fact that he
reveal that maybe he was. I think it's just because he was
part tentacle. Because there was a moment him and the Doctor were struggling, because there's a machine that he keeps putting people in that's
composts people in.
Crushes people, yeah. And there was a moment in the end where
this is a PG.
He does get crushed in this machine, and there's a moment where the Doctor's trying to pull him out, and there's a specific shot of him pulling with the gloves on, and I was like, oh, it's going to come off, it's going to be a tentacle, but it was nothing. I was like, why?
Because he was just a human, because he deals with plants all day.
Yeah, but they were leather gloves though.
Yeah, but he's posh as anything.
Nice gloves.
He buys like £500 paintings of flowers. She was great. What is her name? The elderly lady who's basically super sleuth.
She reminded me.
She survived the story, right?
Yeah. She reminded
name?
Me of Madame Arcati, if anybody knows the film Blithe Spirit, or has seen the stage play. She was just a little bit insane and charming and hilarious. She just made me think of it. She helped Sarah Jane and the Doctor identify who it was that had the plant and the seed because she
sold him a painting.
And she was like, he never paid me for that painting, which I thought was really funny.
Amelia Ducat.
And
Amelia Ducat is the character's name, played by Sylvia Coleridge.
She helps them infiltrate the mansion, pretending to distract him, pretending that she wants to get the money for this painting.
Well, she does. Once she realises, she's like, yeah, you never paid me the cheapskate.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was 600, although if we can include the rate of inflation, I say around 1,000 ought to do it. In 1970s money, it's like, damn, girl!
Get that money.
And knowing that he can't say no, and he's like, very well, and he writes out the check. And he's just doing it because he's like, I need to get back into the other room.
And then she's like, oh, there's apparently a flower that you have. I'd love to paint it one day. And he's like, yeah, sure.
Another time.
How about not now?
Get out of my freaking house, please.
Get out, you crazy lady. You've seen Blithe Spirit, haven't you? I've shown you Blithe Spirit. Yeah. I was getting serious Madame Arcati vibes. Crazy old lady.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
I
couldn't remember her name, and last night you weren't there. But I was in bed and I was falling asleep and I just went, Arcati! Madame Arcati! I just remembered it. And then fell asleep straight afterwards. I felt much calmer having remembered it.
You're as mad as Harrison Chase.
How dare you?
Yeah,
I take that as an insult.
I like this a lot. I
liked it.
I like the bit where Corby's trying to sort of push his his philosophy of like who he is and why he does what he does, and he looks out for number one and all this and and at the end of it the Doctor and Sarah just sort of like, right, you finished? Like they just didn't give a crap. They're like, you are the most selfish, horrible person. We don't care. Like, we don't care. You done ranting? Fantastic. So here's what we're gonna do.
Had your paddy, now shut up and listen.
The threat level is great, and Eunice involvement at the end, they're just firing at it and everything. It's like, it's not gonna do anything. Like, it's not going to kill them.
They're super casual about it, aren't they? It's like,
until eventually they just do an air raid.
Yeah.
It's like, then it becomes a ticking clock story of, it's going to get killed, the Doctor and Sarah Jane need to get out of the building. I really liked the Seeds of Doom.
I thought it was good.
It was creepy. And did you like how sort of, especially these last two, and the Android Invasion a bit, did you like how creepy this series was getting?
Yeah.
Brace yourself.
There's a lot of death in this.
Philip Hinchcliffe's involvement in the show is about to turn this whole thing into a gothic dream.
I'm all for it.
So brace yourself, because you're getting at least 3 or 4 series now of stuff where it's like, This is weird.
I've got to say,
oh, baby.
this Doctor has got to be the most vulnerable Doctor I have encountered because he faints constantly, or he's knocked out.
He's more knocked
Constantly.
out more than
Pretty
anything,
much in
isn't he?
every story, there's a moment where he gets knocked out. And it's like, come on, Doctor. When he drinks that drink in oh my gosh,
Brain of Morbius?
Brain of Morbius. I was like, rookie mistake, Doctor.
Even Sarah Jane knew
Sarah
you guys were
Jane
getting
knew.
roofied.
I mean, she
Come
did it in
on.
in a really obvious way. She just poured it into a bowl that was next to her.
Which was great.
It was kind of
yeah.
like the plant thing, you know, where you've got a drink and you just throw it behind you
Yeah.
the nearby plant. Yeah, I dug it. I dug this.
Are we enjoying the Doctor and Sarah Jane?
Yeah.
Would you like to know how many more stories you have with them?
It's not many, is it?
You have 2 more
2,
stories
yeah,
with the
yeah.
Doctor and Sarah
So,
Jane.
yeah. But who's after Sarah Jane?
I'm not saying anything. You'll find out next series.
Well, we've already had Ian and Barbara. We've already had
Well,
Jamie.
it was the 4th
we've already had
Doctor's era.
Vicky.
You can't, like...
Whoa!
See what you've done?
No!
You've destroyed Gallifrey.
It's cursed. It's whenever I bring up Ian and Barbara. It's just because Doctor Who was just like, we know! We can't get better than that. We know!
So I'll bring them up here and we'll just lay them out like the corpses they are. Because we're done with Series 13 now. We're finished with it.
Good
We're
night,
not finished with our ongoing
sweetheart.
journey. So what was that? 3? Oh, you're free your hands. 3, 2, 1. Good night, sweetheart. There we go. Lovely Toast to London reference for anyone who watches that. So, we're finished with Doctor Who Season 13. We're halfway through the classic series. Guys, if you're watching, if you're not watching, I'm surprised if you hear me say this. Stop putting things over. What is your favourite story from this series? Lucy, what was your favourite story from this series? Because you like Pyramids of Mars. Thank you for the chocolate biscuit. You like Pyramids of Mars.
Yep.
You really enjoyed the Siege of Doom. Is Brain of Morbius still your favourite of the series?
My favourite. It might be my favourite
Ever.
It goes to the Aztecs and maybe Brain of Morbius because I freaking loved it.
Really?
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Wow. Okay, well, the show has got a lot to do next series. To impress you.
I liked it a lot.
You like it a lot,
Yeah. I really need to go and do the stuff I need to do, boo.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
I've got work in the morning.
Let us make one more mini prediction then. I just want to see, just for the sake of next video, what is going to occur here. Whether... God, where's the bloody button? Button. Who's got the button?
Who's got my
Right, so try and figure out if you've heard of any of the following stories from the next series and which one you think you're going to like the most. So coming up we have The Mask of Mandragora.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think it's because it's one of the Target novels your mum's got. It is, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so there
I
you
can
go.
remember it, yeah.
The Hand of Fear.
I've heard of that, but I don't know what it is, though.
The Deadly Assassin.
Not heard of that.
It's one of my favourites. The Face of Evil.
These all have a theme.
The Robots of Death.
Oh
Does that one ring a bell?
God's sake, they're all very
Does that
scary.
one ring a bell?
Robots of
That
Death.
one's a whodunit in space, featuring a very iconic design for a robot.
No, I don't know.
I own 3 of them. I own 3 Vok robots.
Oh,
Yes.
I know.
One of Matt's favourite stories. And the final story of the series. This is going to be fascinating to see how you react to this, knowing what you know about how people have reacted to it recently versus your experience of just watching it. The Talons of Weng Chiang.
Yeah, that's going to be...
Interesting. Because it is a really good story, but you think the green screen's aged badly. Next time on Doctor Who Review,
God.
Yellow Peril. We'll see you later.
Oh, no.
Say goodbye, Wonder Woman.
Bye.